Hey everybody, Dimitri here, and today I wanted to do a quick comparison of the Husqvarna TE150 and KTM 150 XCW to the Beta Cross Trainer. So both of these bikes are positioned by Beta and KTM similarly in their dirt bike lineups, but they're actually quite different. And in this video I wanted to talk about this and hopefully help you decide which one is best for you if you are looking at this range of motorcycle. So if you're not new to the channel, you know that I owned a 2022 Husqvarna TE150i for a couple of years. I put about 120, 130 hours on it. And recently I got a chance to ride one of the new TBI 150s, which was pretty cool to compare to the old one. I've also ridden a carbureted 150. One of my friends has one. And over probably the last 8 years, I've actually ridden a bunch of Beta Cross Trainers at various demo rides. And recently, my friend's wife actually got one, and I got a chance to spend some time on that as well. And they're definitely both interesting bikes that are aimed at kind of similar riders. So in this video, I'll kind of divide it into two sections, and the first section I'll talk about what is unique about each bike in its individual lineup, and in the second part of the video I'll talk about what bike I think is better for what rider. So before I dive right into it, I just wanted to say that people tend to consider both of these beginner bikes, and I would actually argue that these are not really beginner bikes, and I think they're more intermediate bikes or advanced beginner bikes maybe. But not only that, but I think each one of them will actually also suit a advanced rider that's looking to do a specific thing to their riding, or maybe ride specific kinds of terrains. So I just want to approach it kind of more with that lens, because I think truly a true beginner bike is something more like a TTR or a CRF 250, an air-cooled bike that's really simple and about half the price of these bikes. Because these bikes are, while they're priced at a point that's lower than their counterparts in the lineups, they're still priced very close to, a proper enduro race bike, because that's essentially what they are. So first I want to talk about what makes the TE150 and the KTM 150 a special bike in its own lineup and in general. So the biggest thing, and I think this is the biggest thing that people gravitate towards, is the fact that it's the lightest of the KTM kind of big bikes. It's also a little bit cheaper, so you're looking at probably at least $1,000 cheaper than an equivalent KTM 300. And also specifically to the Husky, it's got a lower seat height. It's lower than the KTM, and it's lower than many other enduro bikes. At the same time, it is a full-size Husqvarna, so it's not shrunk down. It's not a 3/4 bike or anything like that. It's the same physical size as the KTM 300, and except for the engine, it pretty much shares all the same components. So you still get all the really good suspension, you get really good brakes, you get the proper size frame, and everything is super high quality. So it's for somebody that wants maybe a bike that's got a little bit less power. It's not race bike fast, even though it actually at 150's got plenty of go, but maybe a little bit less power and a little bit less price. I think this is kind of what makes the TE150 special. And if you're interested in knowing more about my impressions and experience with the Husqvarna TE150, I've got a whole video series on that. So please check out the link in the corner of the video and in the description.
beautiful fall day.
So next up we got the Xtrainer, or the Xtrainer as some people call it. It is special in the beta lineup and special in its across all bikes because it is probably the smallest feeling enduro bike out there. So it is low and small. It's at the same time it's got pretty much the same engine as a Beta 300RR, so it's got lots of torque. It is tuned a little bit differently, so it's got smooth power. So you've got tons of torque, you got 300 torque, but it is very, very smooth. It has pretty much absolutely zero hit to it. So it's really good for people that want that kind of tractable power, but don't necessarily want the high horsepower kind of scary power that the 300s have when they get on the pipe. It also has very soft and comfortable suspension, which does suffer a little bit once you start going a little bit quicker, but at the same time it's still super capable, and it's really good when you're going slow, kind of third gear or less. It also has all the same build quality and everything as all the other Beta enduro bikes, and I'm pretty sure it shares pretty much everything except the shocks, except the shock, the forks, and the pipe, and obviously the frame, but other components like all the brakes, the clutch hydraulics, engine, oil injection, all that stuff is the same as on the Beta RR models. And I've done a couple videos over the years on the Beta Xtrainer impressions, demo rides, and then I recently rode it at a trail ride. So I'll link those in the description and in the video as well, in case you want a bit more detail on the Xtrainer. Alright, so now let's talk about what kind of rider each one of these bikes I think is for. Let's start with the TE150. So I think the TE150 is a great bike for somebody that is a bigger person or maybe an aggressive rider. It is a full-size bike, so you don't get any real advantage. I mean, the seat is a little bit lower, but you don't really get any advantage of having, a smaller motorcycle. So it's for somebody that wants to have a bike that feels light, that has a kind of a revvy engine. And I will say that it's got a good amount of low end. It's not a 125, but it is a little bit more difficult to ride, in my opinion, than a 300, especially the TPI and especially the carb, because there is a little bit more of a hit to it. And you do need to shift a lot, and you do need to be in the correct gear. So I think it's a great bike for somebody that's maybe an aggressive rider, maybe you're a younger rider and you want to move up to, you maybe moved up from a smaller bike, but now you're kind of a full-size human and you want a full-size bike, but maybe you're not quite ready for something that's got more power. So I think that's kind of what this bike would be for, and I think it's better for somebody that wants to do faster riding, so riding at second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear speed, so faster single track, a little bit easier single track, that kind of thing. Would be a great bike for racing, and I think it's also a really good bike for somebody that maybe is been riding for a while and just wants something different or wants to hone their skills. But again, they're just looking for a bike that feels light to ride. Or maybe also just wants to save a little bit of money because it is $1,000 cheaper. And another thing to consider here is I think the Husky and its KTM 150 counterpart is good for somebody that does not want to mess with a carburetor, because they're fuel injected.
single track. This is where I think it struggles a little bit, but honestly it's not a massive difference.
So the Beta Cross Trainer I think is good for a very different kind of rider from the 150. I think it's a bike that is really nice for riders who are smaller. So whether you are a short person or a small person, or actually maybe you're a bigger person but maybe you just want a smaller motorcycle because it is physically smaller. And I think it is also much better than the 150 at riding really gnarly technical terrain because it is a 300, so it's got a lot of bottom end grunt. But at the same time, it is not going to be as good going really fast because the suspension on it is not quite as good. And it's also a good bike for somebody that does not want fuel injection and wants a carburetor. So just to quickly summarize it again, TE150 for somebody that wants a light bike, wants to go fast, wants that light feeling of a small bore bike. The Xtrainer is for somebody that wants a physically small motorcycle with a much lower seat height and somebody that wants to ride gnarlier terrain at lower speeds. 150 faster speeds, Xtrainer lower speeds. I think that's the big delineation here. And again, KTM Husqvarna fuel injection, Xtrainer carburetor, a little bit more old school. So I hope you guys found this video useful. If you have any comments or questions or opinions about this, definitely leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And see you all out on the trail.